Thank you, Drew. Dexter. Good long morning, long yorgeta. I feel very honoured to be starting off this exploration lot of sessions. It's I'm not the first person to say it, but there's a real vibe in the air, I think, at the moment with exploration and mining this year. Now, you've all heard about K92, obviously, from CEO John Lewins. He gave a very detailed account of the company and the project yesterday. Now, we're all about promoting PNG, and I'm going to be giving you an outline of the exploration success of K92 and what we have delivered to the mineral inventory of PNG, as well as what is on the horizon. So since John has already covered much of the general information, I shall keep it brief when discussing some of the introductory slides, in particular this one, which I'm sure everybody's familiar with. And as most of you will know, New Guinea is home to several of the world's globally significant gold and copper deposits, including the massive Grasberg complex on the western side. I won't list all of those in PNG here, but I've had the fortune of working on a number of them over the last 20 odd years spent in country. And the CONCURRENT region, where I've spent the last half dozen or so, is on the northeastern flank of the Papian Mobile Belt, bounded by the Ramu-Markham Fault, a major suture zone that marks the northern margin of the Australian Craton. And in the southeast, the Auri Deformation Zone. So CONCURRENT is here. And if we zoom in to this inset, this part of PNG is exceptionally well endowed in terms of its mineral content. There's in excess of 100 million ounces gold equivalent in this particular part of PNG, the Morobe and Eastern Highlands provinces. And there are two current mines, being the K92 mine and the Hidden Valley mine, operated by Harmony Gold. Plus there are multiple large-scale deposits. So K92 mine, Hidden Valley mine, plus some very large ones which we've been talking about. Obviously Waifi Golpu. I had the fortune of working on that one for 5 years some time ago. And nearly all of these deposits are located on these major transfer structures where they meet with the arc parallel corridor within the New Guinea thrust belt. K92 has a very, very large land package totalling 837 square kilometres over what is arguably amongst the most prospective ground in country. You see the mining lease located here, and the K92 mine itself is actually situated very, very well with respect to infrastructure, with the Highlands Highway, Ramu Valley, Goosap Airstrip and Yonki Hydroelectric scheme nearby. The plant, tailings dam and infrastructure are located in the Markham Valley lowlands, with the Port of Lae, a major international port in PNG, accessible by sealed road, just 2 hours drive from the mine site. There are a significant number of both porphyry and epithermal targets in the tenement area, and we're systematically working our way through them with work either undertaken or underway on the majority of these. The Blue Lake Porphyry deposit, that's located in EL 470, about 4 kilometres from the mine itself here. And together with the Cora, Judd and Blue Lake resources, there is a combined 43-101 compliant resource base of nearly 18 million ounces. And this is expected to grow dramatically in the short term. So K92, as you will have heard from John, have invested a lot in exploration with a very substantial workforce. We have 11 diamond drill rigs distributed roughly equally between surface and underground, and we've got additional rigs on the way with the capacity to drill flat holes from surface. K92 has had obviously a dominating exploration budget and uses the latest and greatest technology in defining targets as well as modelling and estimation. We have a full mobile MT geophysical data set for the entire license package, which has proven to be instrumental for successful exploration. Plus, we sponsor a PhD student, a PhD national through CODES in Tasmania. We're all about capacity building. So when we get an opportunity, we bring in renowned international consultants to upskill and capacity build our national workforce. Now, the flagship deposits, as you will have heard, of course, are Cora and Judd, and they just keep growing. The drilling results just announced from Cora K1 lode demonstrate even higher grades than we actually had anticipated from the resource model in an area that is up dip from the main mine workings, and also significant potential dilatant zones have been identified deeper within the resource from drilling from the twin incline in this area here. So these represent potential near mine or near-term bulk mining. And the same can be said for K2, Cora K2 lode, with very high-grade intercepts yielded up dip once again, and dilatant zones from the twin incline down deeper in the resource. So for Judd, recent drilling at Judd has also identified similar zones of very high-grade mineralisation in an area that was quite sparsely drilled previously above the main mine. As well as that, we've got a number of very high-grade intersections which have come from drilling outside of the current resource along strike in both directions. So now going back to the dilatant zones in Cora Deeps, this is a plan view at the 950 level where much drilling has been undertaken since the last mineral resource estimate in December 2023. And it is now evident that the K1 and K2 lodes are much, much broader than previously assumed. And given their proximity to infrastructure, these represent very near-term new mining fronts. Now, if we look at the broader Cora resource in long section, we see that there are multiple highly prospective exploration fronts being drilled concurrently. This includes the Cora South from surface, Cora Deeps underway, and then we have Cora South as well being drilled from the 1205 level drive in this area. So this just gives you a feel for just how expansive the Cora deposit is, with over 2.5 kilometres of drill-defined strike length. Though sparsely drilled by comparison to Cora, the Judd deposit is heading in the same direction, with massive expansion underway through the drilling of 4 individual veins. And everybody has to remember that the K92 mine is very much copper endowed together with gold. What is highly encouraging is that the copper grades increase to the south and are very much open in that direction. So you can see from this that the area to the south, we don't have data yet, but it's likely to change from blue to red in due course. Okay, so we've covered Cora and Judd, but there is a lot more. Arakompa and Maniapi are strongly mineralised vein systems that are even closer to the processing plant than are Cora and Judd, just a little over 4 kilometres away. Both Maniapi and Arakompa have had historic drilling campaigns, but both of these dated back to the early 1990s and were all only very shallow holes. Both have exceptional attributes. So Arakompa, it's at least 1.7 kilometres in strike length with a vertical extent of at least 400 metres, completely open at depth. It consists of a number of well-defined high-grade lodes, and there are now numerous high-grade intersections, as you will soon see. Maniapi, of similar vein type to Arakompa, is also of significant strike length, but has only been drilled to very shallow depths as well. As I mentioned, Arakompa had not been drilled for over 30 years, and our initial drill program has demonstrated very high-grade, broad zones similar to the dilatant zones at Cora such as 20 metres at 10 grams, as well as bulk tonnage, zones with true thicknesses of well over 50 metres. Arakompa, as John showed yesterday, it's growing very, very rapidly. This just shows you how rapidly from February this year, with just the first 2 holes until October, with 30 holes reported. This is expanded. This last window shows just how much is expanded, where we now have around 800 metres of strike length, but that still only represents about 40% of the actual strike length of Arakompa. Recent drilling has demonstrated that as we drill out from the centre, we continue to yield exceptional results. So in the far south, this area here, with this particular section, we can see very high-grade, broad lodes within this broader mineralised zone. So these high-grade lodes in the range of 10 grams, both in long section and in cross section. And we see this same pattern with all of the drilling at Arakompa, whether the high-grade lodes amid broad zones of bulk mineralised material. And this is repeated on every section that we drill. Now, you would be hard-pressed to distinguish the Arakompa lodes from those at Cora. The mineralisation is mostly massive sulphide and quartz, as at Cora. The main difference is that Arakompa is hosted within diorite, whereas Cora is in phyllite country rock. Now, this known deposit growth is commensurate with the drill commitment. So we started off drilling at the beginning of the year with 1 rig, and now we have 4 rigs drilling there. By mid-year we had 4. So we are targeting a maiden resource for Arakompa early in 2025. So that was Judd, Cora, Maniape and Arakompa, but there is still more. Karempe is another vein system just to the west of and parallel with Cora here. And that's a very large strike extensive vein set spanning approximately 2 kilometres. The lodes are very similar to Cora and Judd, with massive sulphide amid cryptocrystalline quartz. And interestingly, as at Arakompa, the lodes are hosted mostly in diorite as opposed to the metasediments supporting the Cora mineralisation. At Karempe, we've intersected 5 distinctive mineralised lodes, or veins, with some very respectable grades, particularly from the Ka1 and AWS lodes, with some of these grades up to 125 grams gold over 1 metre composites within the lodes. So we've drilled several hundred metres of strike at Karempe, but to access the northern portion, it's in very steep terrain, so we've commenced drilling from underground. You can see here, quite steep there. Our latest vein exploration efforts have expanded to the Marti and Masoan vein system, which almost straddles the mine lease boundary. You can see here, just the mine lease boundary here. 3 distinct major mineralised vein systems there, which we expect to drill in 2025. Now, we've also been engaged in successful exploration for porphyry deposits. So in this case, the Blue Lake porphyry is a K92 discovery that proved up an enormous zone deposit with dimensions of 1.5 by 1 by 0.8 kilometres, completely open at depth. And this is an example of the high-grade, intensive stockwork quartz sulphide veining in the core of the system from an interval running 200 metres at 1 gram gold equivalent. Modelling the porphyry by its lithology, alteration of stockwork vein density also demonstrates the down dip or down plunge at depth beneath the extent of drilling. So this was one of the cheapest exploration programs in terms of discovery cost per ounce. Nearly every hole intersected porphyry mineralisation, and we were able to define it for less than $1 per discovery ounce, for a total of 10.8 million ounces using a 0.4 gram cutoff. As I mentioned, the airborne mobile MT electromagnetic data, which we acquired for all of the K92 tenements, has shown a great correlation with known deposits, both the veins and the porphyries, with numerous targets to follow. You can see here the Cora trend coupled with the Arakompa trend here, and at their confluence is the A1 prospect area. Now the lithocap is a very important feature, which is an advanced argillic cap, very expansive, which presumably conceals a number of porphyries, including Blue Lake, Aena, and A1, all of which show conductivity responses. Now this prospectivity pyramid categorises the main K92 deposits and prospects in order of their data confidence and their prospectivity. So as you can see, this is a real mineral district in the making, and there seems to be no end to the deposits and prospects for K92 to work with, and several of these can be explored from underground as well. These ones in the purple outlines. So the objective here, of course, is to push all of these assets to the top of the pyramid through resource definition, feasibility, and into production. And when you look at the spatial occurrence of these deposits and prospects, it's pretty obvious that there's a lot of systematic work to be done to test all of these targets using a prescribed strategy. And there's still very large tracts of land within the K92 package yet to be explored, but these are areas planned for 2025 and beyond, which is the reason why John Lewins has been upping the ante and broadcasting an imminent doubling of the exploration budget. And on that note, I'd like to thank everyone for attending, and I shall be available for any questions either now, in the panel, or back at the booth later this afternoon. Thank you, Drew.